Hi, my name is Samantha Kyle, a freshman actuarial science major from Teaneck, New Jersey. And first, just to tell you gave a very great speech, and I do agree with many of the points that you did bring up. I did also notice that you mentioned global warming very briefly, and after watching Bob Joel's An Inconvenient Truth, I did really learn about the true gravity of the situation and believe that it's one of the most important issues facing us today. And I was wondering your stand on global warming, since some politicians deny its existence, and what policies you support or what you feel needs to be done about the issue.
It's a great question. And I tried to stay away from too much of the specific issues today and talk about something bigger than specific issues. But global warming is huge. And again, I mean, just need to know, I mean, just watching, when I watched the news this morning about what happened in the South, I don't know how many of you are from Alabama or Mississippi, but with these tornadoes that hung over those states yesterday and the flooding, there were 5 lives lost this morning in Alabama when tornadoes came down in that state. And you get this feeling that these weather patterns seem to be changing more dramatically. Last Saturday was the warmest day in the recorded history in Virginia. It was 80 some odd degrees, I think, on Saturday or Sunday. So clearly there is something going on here, and obviously the burning of fossil fuels has a huge amount to do with the deterioration of our environment. I'm amazed that people are still debating whether or not this is occurring. We're 4% of the world's population in this country, and yet you and I consume about 25% of the fossil fuels, the oil resources of the country, of the world. And a great majority of that is consumed in our vehicles and transportation systems. I happen to believe, first of all, for the reason of dealing with the environmental questions, and by the way, aside from just, weather patterns, the health condition of the world is deteriorating, and developing countries are going to be using more and more of this. And they don't want to be lectured necessarily by the United States about using less after we've consumed so much to reach the economic success we have, and then lecturing them about just using windmills or something else as they're trying to get on their feet. So we got to be talking about ways in which they can grow and prosper without using these non-renewable resources that do so much damage to our environment and to our health. And I think there are things that we can be doing. One, conservation alone. This doesn't have to be difficult. We can save 1 million barrels a day just by getting a little smarter on conservation. Going after the alternatives of wind power and fuel cells and biofuels and so forth is worth at least another 1 million. And by the way, this not be 100 years from now. You can do this in a decade, in my view. If John Kennedy could challenge a generation to get to the moon in a decade, I think we can challenge America in a decade to be totally independent of foreign oil, particularly from the Persian Gulf, which scares me to death to be dependent upon that part of the world for my economic success. And then by going into the alternatives, bigger alternatives, liquefaction of coal, for instance, can provide 2 million barrels a day, absolutely environmentally safe, non-toxic, and we have over 400 years supply of it right in the United States as we develop other ideas. So there's no reason in the world, this is not brain surgery, to get there, to break this cycle of relying on these materials. So I just hope you keep talking about it. And Al Gore deserves a great deal of credit for focusing on this. And the solutions out there are not hard. This does not require putting on a hair shirt and suffering. So the technology is there. There's a company in Connecticut, a little local advertising here, in Connecticut that's about to develop a fuel cell that you'll be able to put in your garage or your house that will last for 25 years, that'll take tap water and turn it into hydrogen, which will operate your car for 350 miles on a charge overnight without ever touching the grid, maybe in the next 6 or 7 years. Well, you'll never have to worry about putting a petroleum or oil-based product in it. These ideas are there. We just need to get behind them, get a lot of energy behind them, and leadership in the country that's going to invite the country to be a part of that effort. But thank you for raising it. Very grateful. Yeah.